Hello everyone, Comrade Snake here. So we have a quick look at Italia 1917 to 1918, A Farewell to Arms, published by Nuts Publishing, and this is designed by Stefan Sanchal. I apologize, sir, if I mispronounced your name there. So this is a third game in a series that they've been putting out of World War One games. I don't have any of the other two, but I believe they have Somme and I think it's Marne or Verdun. I can't remember what the other one was, but I know the second one was Somme 1916. But this game looks at the Italian front, all the way from a operational level to a like kind of strategic, kind of hybrid strategic operational level for the entire Italian front at that time. But we are not looking at a full campaign right now. We are looking at the introduction scenario, which is the battle for Mount Grappe. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So we have the Italian trench line here, trying to form a defense to prevent the Germans and Austrians from breaking through to the plain below. As you can see here, the sacred mountain, Monte Grappa. And we are going to kind of walk through a little bit of this introduction scenario. And I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about how the game works, show some examples, and then just kind of play out the scenario, probably mostly off camera here, other than showing a few walkthrough examples, and just so you can see a little bit of how it shapes up after you kind of get an idea of the system. So it operates very similarly to like what you'd expect from this kind of hex encounter game with World War One or even World War II, whatever. So it's got a pretty detailed sequence of play that we'll go over. Some of it is for the advanced. Oh no, actually, no, I take that back. Sorry, this one does not include any of the advanced rules. I think that's on a separate one. So that's good at least. We're not using the advanced rules because those are for a campaign game. They're not made for these smaller scenarios. So, as I said, plays out pretty similar to what you'd expect. You know, the supply phase. There's like an air phase to establish like air superiority, which gives some certain bonuses. Then we check weather. Then we do movement. Then there's a combat phase. And then this one has a little bit of a special thing where you have a disengagement phase and then an exploitation phase. And that's exploitation's pretty standard. Disengagement's a little different than you might be used to hearing. But this game does some interesting things to kind of simulate certain aspects of World War One at the tactical level that you don't see too often. I suppose, yeah, we'll see tactical level. It's pretty zoomed in certain cases. Now, one of the things that makes this game stand out a little bit more is the way it kind of handles large offensives, which is basically the initiative player declares an offensive, which is going to happen by default on the first turn of this two-turn scenario. The initiative player, which is always the Germans for this, is going to declare an offensive. And what that means is that there is a second and a third operation sequence. That is the movement, the combat, exploitation, disengage, all that jazz. That happens 2 more times. So you get a total of 3 during an offensive turn. And that is, going to be a pretty crazy, like, elongated process for turns that happens. So they really have the opportunity to try to punch through, do damage, and hopefully exploit, hopefully for the attacker anyway, exploit that success and try to dive through and do some really upset the enemy position. So that's going to happen on this first turn of this scenario, and then you get some bonuses when you do that for the first and second offensive segments. You get a bonus for your attacks. And then it kind of peters out over time. That last one, you don't get anything, no bonus, but you can still continue to try to press it. So the, counters are pretty much what you'd expect. Although there are separate ones here for the artillery, which has an offensive side and then just kind of a regular side. So that's going to be important for when you do assaults and you bombard spaces during the assault. I guess technically before. So that's going to come into play here. This kind of fell a little bit. There are also some French units on the Italian side over here. That's going to play a little bit of a role as well, just because there's some slight differences, which we'll I'll kind of talk about over on this sheet in a second of how certain things happen. There are also a lot of, in the case on the German side, they have a lot of these Strasstruppen markers, which at the moment I've just kind of piled on, but I technically need to distribute them to certain units, particular units in each of these stacks. I guess we'll just do that real quick for some of them. So they have Strauss markers, which gives them a column shift on the attack. Only one for the Strauss markers. You can't pile in multiple units with the Strasstruppen to gain a stacking effect. They don't stack. If there's at least one, you get the bonus, but you don't get more. Like I said, I'll kind of walk more through this sequence at least a couple times for some attacks here. Just kind of give an idea of what some of these counters mean. Very similar thing going on with the Austrian Sturm battalions. And then the Italians have a similar thing with an Ardenti unit counter, but I actually don't think they might. I don't think they actually started with any on this scenario, so they might not have any. I'm kind of glancing over at the setup sheet, and yeah, I don't see any on there, but they could in some situations. Some scenarios have Arditi counters, which gives them a column shift as well. So they work very similarly to the Strasstruppen. And those are all these are all things that can be exhausted, can be destroyed during the attacks or from certain combat results, and then they don't help you really on the defense, and they are the last thing destroyed on the defense. But if the parent unit is destroyed, then it doesn't really matter because they're also automatically gone. So they don't really do it, which is just the way it sets up for, you can lose them in an attack voluntarily if you're the attacker, but you can't really do that for the defense if you're on the defense. They don't help you, and they are basically worthless. I mean, they're there, but you can't take hits on them by choice on there. They're the last thing to go, which by default means that they're not worth anything. They don't actually absorb hits because the parent unit's going to get hit first. Anyway, once again, not super important right now, but just kind of going through rules, talking through it while I'm talking about this whole thing. So the scenario here also starts with morning fog, which is going to help the attackers, and then it'll transition to poor weather and remain there for the rest of the scenario. And we'll kind of talk about that as it becomes important, what exactly those two things do. And then same for doctrine. So there's an Italian and a French doctrine marker, and I believe actually British too, that changes where certain things work in combat. The French marker, which is somewhere, I put it somewhere, and I haven't been able to fish out exactly where it ended up, but I'm just using this French unit that's not used in the scenario to mark it. They're on the Foch marker. It's called the Cadorna Foch marker over there. So they're on the Foch doctrine. And then we have the Italians are on the evolving doctrine, which eventually gets to Diaz. So there is a it's hard to read on here, but there is basically a system that is happening where as they advance in their doctrine, they can get better trenches, they gain full cooperation bonuses with other allied armies. There's a whole thing here and it affects certain roles too on tactical coordination, which is another facet of combat. We'll talk a little bit about that as I go into it, but just to give an example here, we have 4 dice. So whenever there's a combat, we're basically going to roll all 4 at once, with this being, connected to the combat results table, and then these being for the Allies and the Germans, central powers respectively, are for, it's called tactical coordination. So there's a different chart depending on whether you're attacking or defending in each time, but you want to roll high on coordination, and that will, regardless of whether attack or defender, and that adds an additional set of things that alter the combat. So a high attacking coordination will negate certain aspects of the defender, assuming they don't also have perfect coordination, but they'll, and a defender will be able to retreat without penalties, or taking hits, if they roll, say, perfect coordination against a poor or just kind of average coordination attacker and things like that. So it'll affect how the combats go, which is pretty interesting, in addition to just the regular combat table results, or it modifies the combat table results, I guess would be a better way to put it. So that's something that you should know about kind of the base rules. There is a pretty in-depth thing. The combat system is the very in-depth in this, and that's kind of the main draw, is the offensives and the in-depth combat, trying to figure out how to force through these trenches and this terrain and do all that. All right, so with that kind of groundwork laid, we will take a look here at this first turn. And as I said, Germans have initiative, and by default, they are declaring an offensive. So there will be 3 operational sequences. So let me walk through that here, and we'll get started. So first thing, of course, after declaring offensive, we would do a weather check, which, as I said, it starts at morning fog, so it's going to give them a bonus for attack. The other thing here is we go to we do check supply, which we don't really need to do right now. Everything's going to be okay. We go to movement phase, which is mostly just going to be a few units moving up to getting closer to the line. Something I didn't mention before, but it is important here in this game, is units that are in an enemy zone of control are considered to be, quote, on the line. And they cannot leave that zone of control, even as, except, if they get forced to retreat by combat, yes. But in a standard movement, they cannot leave that zone of control unless another friendly unit enters into their hex. And then that unit is then relieved, as it says. So they have to have relief in order to leave the enemy zone of control, or already have other units in there. But they cannot, an individual unit on the line, say for instance this 66 division here, they would need relief to be able to leave this space. So another one of these units is going to have to come in, not the artillery. The artillery cannot come in. Artillery cannot be enter an enemy zone of control voluntarily at all. So they're just kind of stuck. But anyway, so movement phase. The Germans are going to move, and also for this offensive, for the scenario rather, it outlines the Germans are allowed to activate 1 army level artillery, which is the only one they have, per offensive. So that one is going to flip to offensive mode. The rest of these are corps level, which means that they don't need to be activated by offensives. They have shorter range and less bombardment power. So this, for instance, here, so it has a bombardment power of 4 and a range of 4. So it's going to be able to go pretty far. And then the rest of these, you'll see 2 and 2 on all the rest of these. These are smaller artillery pieces. But the only thing that's really going to move is going to be these guys. Everything in these stacks has a movement rate of 5. And these guys are already started reduced strength. But it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get across the road, because they're going to have to follow that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these guys are going to advance to kind of get closer to the line, but they're not going to be able to actually fight yet this turn. These guys up here that are disorganized, I'm actually just going to leave them there, and we're going to try to reorganize them later here on this turn. And then we also have this very powerful mountain division. Might as well start moving them up. Try to get closer. Yeah, we'll try to get in there. Get in there soon. Okay. Now, after done what little movement we had to do there, we are now going to do to combat phase. So basically, the attacker is going to designate a hex that is going to be attacked, and they don't need to designate all of them. They can designate them one at a time, and you resolve that combat immediately, and then before you can move on to the next one. So you have to do it, or if you want to, I mean, you could designate all of them if you want, and then you just have to resolve them one at a time in order. But we're just going to do one at a time here. And I guess we'll start with what I think the most sensical one is, which is we're going to try to hit this space here, this mountainous trench hex right here, right at this corner, this bulge. What's the word I'm looking for? Salient, that's it. Which has some very powerful units in it, but only 2. And we're going to try to hit them very hard. So we're going to definitely use the army artillery here. We're going to use this, and then we're just going to use all of our artillery we can, because I'm not sure if I want to hit another. No, actually, we're not going to use this guy, because I want to use that over here. I think we're going to try hitting this hex as well. So we're not going to use that one. But we are going to use both of these artillery plus the army artillery. And is there any artillery that can respond? That can, although not with counter battery fire. So if I was to flip it, you'd see counter battery fire, but they're not quite, don't have quite the range to do that. But they still can respond by bombarding into that hex to help, or it's a counter barrage to stop the attackers. So we have at least one. That's really it. That's all the artillery we have that's in range to support. So do I really want to even bother, or should I just save it to support that in case? Because that's a lot of artillery, and I don't think it's the one strength is really not going to help much, to be honest. Let's just go without it and see what happens. So yeah, we'll go no new defender artillery. Okay, so I actually misunderstood counter battery fire. You can do they don't need to be in range of the other artillery. From the looks of it, you can just do counter battery. So I actually will do one counter battery fire, because it's going to force the attacker has to match. So it will force them to expend one of these for counter battery fire, so they won't be able to contribute that strength to the bombardment. So that is important. So with that, we will add together the total combined bombardments. We have 2, 4, 8. So we have 8 points coming at them. And because they're in a trench, it's going to be -2 to the DRM. If the Italians were at Diaz level, there would be an additional -1. But that's it. So we got -2 to the roll, and the bombardment is a strength of 8+ or 7+ is the maximum it can go. So we have a total of 8. So we're going to roll a die. Well, that wasn't great. I rolled a 1. So a 1 on the 7+. That still nets 3 hit points to distribute to the defenders. Okay, and that means the three hit points is exactly enough to cause one step loss for a division. And I think we'll take that on the weaker Alpini, so we can choose the defender. So the Alpini will take a step loss. So that was the result of the bombardment. Now we go into the main attack here by the infantry. So between the 2 stacks here that are participating, I don't think we want to do that one. But between the 2 stacks participating, we have to designate a lead unit, and that's going to matter for calculating the morale factor, which is going to be its own thing here. So let's see, what's the best lead unit to use? I guess we want to see what we got here. 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 2. I guess we'll make this top and this top one here with its 4 strength. Yeah, it's not this. This unit has 11 defense strength. That's really, really strong. Maybe I should have put in the other one. Well, oh well. What happened happened. I should have moved up these forces to help hit it, is really what I should have done. But I didn't think about it. So, well, that is what it is. So we're going to be attacking with all these guys here. Okay, so that'll be the lead unit there, and we'll use the 56 DF with its 11 defense points as the lead unit for the attack or defender. Then again, so if we were to look at this, I'll zoom up on here. So, you know, attack value, defense value, movement allowance. This here is the morale level. And this unit that I have down here has a 1 of 4 versus the 5 here. But the Germans here also have a morale value of 5. And that'll give them an extra +1. And they already have a lot of bonuses going. So maybe I do want to make the Alpini the lead unit. I think we will. Let's do that. Let's do that and see how it goes. Step is calculating the odds ratio, which is pretty familiar, I think, to people that do this. So we're just going to look at the attack factors and the defense factors and figure out what that ratio is. So the attackers here, we have 3, 7, 11, and then 14, 16. So 16 against 3, 14. So not great odds. Let's see. So it's basically going to be 1-to-1. Yeah, pretty much. Not great odds there. They definitely should have thrown more in from there, but it is what it is. So if let me pull up the combat chart here, because we're going to have a lot of things to kind of shift as we go through it. I'm going to look through here to see what we have. So just to show, here's the combat resolution table. We have a lot of things to shift. So the defender is also in a trench, which actually means they have a lot more strength than would have thought from the initial calculation. Yeah. This is a pretty bad attack, actually. Oh well, it is what it is. But we do have some factors here to help out because we are in various combat bonuses for this. So we're actually at 1-to-2, not a 1-to-1. So we're at 1-to-2, but we have a combat shift because of the Strasstruppen. So we're back to 1-to-1. Anything else here for the actual column shifts? I don't think so. We're not behind a river. It's not a concentric attack. So we're rolling at the 1-to-1. And with that said, we're going to have to check for... we do have some die roll modifiers for technical coordination, as well as, I think the... oh no, I guess that's just for technical coordination, I think. Yeah, okay. So now we have to do the roll. We'll roll, I'm just going to roll all the dice at once. Here we go. Okay. So this is looking kind of bad all around. So we have a total roll of 3, and then a roll of 3 for their technical coordination, but also check modifiers, and then a roll of 1 for the Italian tactical coordination, which is also not good for them. So let's go. Let me take a look here through everything that we have. Okay. No difference in, oh yeah, no difference in round, no out of supply. Let's just check here. Okay. So now we so now we check combat results table first. Now they do get a +2 because of the offensive. So that's one thing that's definitely happening. Yeah. Okay. First round offensive, so they get a +2. So their combined roll here is 5 on the 1-to-1. It's going to give A8D2. Oof. That's pretty bad, and it has an asterisk for mandatory losses of 1 Strauss or Sturmer attacker. Okay, so they're going to take 8, and a Sturm unit costs 2, takes 2 hit points. So that is going to immediately eliminate 1. So that's 2. They have 6 left. We could actually, I don't want to get rid of all of the Sturm, so we'll take 1 more Strauss-Truppen out. That's gives us 4 left. So we'll reduce the lead unit by 1 and add a disorganization marker to it because I don't want to go past any higher past. I just got to find a disorganized marker over here somewhere. They're really not around? I thought for sure I had more around. Okay, there we go. Put that unit under, I'm going to put it underneath, so that one's disorganized. We still have at least 1 Strauss-Truppen in with that group. Okay. And then we have 2 losses for the Italians. Can pretty much disorganize a unit, and that's it. Yeah, pretty much. That's it. So we'll just take a couple more. We'll just take some disorganization. So both of these units are now disorganized. Okay. Now we do tactical coordination. So we have to check what was going on here and how these rules are. So first, the defender checks the coordination result. So we rolled a 1. However, we are in trenches, so that will make it a 3. It gets us a +2. We don't have to worry about air. There's no air support. We now have 1 unit is disorganized. At least 1 unit is disorganized, so that drops us back down to 2. They're not different nationalities, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, and nothing else there. So the roll was 2. Let's see, what does that do for us exactly? So a modified roll of 1 or 2, or a natural 1, there is no tactical coordination and for no benefits to the player. So nothing is going to actually result from it, which, well, it would be nice if we had at least a partial. It also is not a negative, which it could be if it was at 0. So we end up with no change to with the tactical coordination roll from the Italians. Now let's check Germans. So they rolled a natural 3. We have 1 assault unit. That was at least 1 assault unit, so that makes it to a 4. We did not have an elite unit at the leading. Don't have no air support. Attacking units of different nationalities, which, we don't have to worry about that for the Germans, actually. And then the offensive modifier brings it to +2 as well. So that will end up with perfect tactical coordination, which means that we could put 2 units into... I'm sorry, I just realized the morning fog. I actually need to back up. The morning fog means we had 1 less hit point to suffer, so actually that unit's not disorganized. Anyway. Yes. Back to where I was here on the tactical coordination. Perfect, so they can place 2 units in exploitation mode. which would matter more if we had a breakthrough, but let's at least do it. So we'll put 2 of our guys in there under exploitation mode, so they could, in theory, in a certain phase, do more. So let's see what happens there. And then after that, oh, I did that. It's okay. The way it breaks down the sequence, it says, you know, get the hits and then do the tactical coordination, but then you actually don't apply the results until after both. So the hits should not have been put in place yet. So that would have, I think, given the partial actually to the Italians, because they would have been at 3 because they didn't have a unit disorganized technically when they should have, which would allow them to retreat up to 2 hexes to placate some hits if they wanted to, but we're not going to do that anyway, so that's fine. We're just going to leave it be. Okay. So no actual change in the board state, but that's an important thing. I when I was just looking at the breakdown, I missed. I'm looking a little bit deeper in the rules here. Okay, so now we would actually do the converts, but we already converted all that. Okay, that's the end of that attack. Exploitation does not quite happen yet, so we can resume some more attacks here now. And I think we'll try, even though that was a pretty bad attack, and that's my own fault for not fully appreciating just how rough this attacking is or can be. I've only got a little bit of experience. I haven't played through even the full introduction. I've only kind of messed around a little bit, so this is a little bit trying to feel my way through how this goes. So we're still going to do an attack here. We're still going to try it. I'm going to try to do some damage at Mount Grappa itself. So we get another help from the army artillery, and then we're going to take this core artillery is going to help as well. And then this will once again counter battery, which will force this one to counter battery. I'm going to take this one off counter since it's not participating anymore. Yep, okay. So we have that. So the army artillery can participate in up to 4 attacks, by the way, before it's done. It can only do 1 on the defense, but 4 for the attack. So now we have that goes on, so that's basically neutralized. So we have a 4 trying to roll on the bombardment table here. Once again with a, this time they roll a 6, but it's -2 for the trenches, so that's going to be a 4. And a 4, the bombardment strength of 4 is 3 once again. So we're still going to do some damage to the Alpini. I guess the 14th Alpini will take a hit. Okay. And then we're back to this whole math again. So lean unit will be... Ooh, none of them actually have the morale factor, so I guess we'll make it... I guess we'll make it this guy with the Stormstruppen. This is actually a Sturm Battalion, but it's effectively the same thing. So they will be attacking, although we're going to be at a morale disadvantage against the 12th Alpini, but that's the way it is, I guess. So we have 5 attack plus 9, so 14 against 6 against 12. So it's effectively a 1-to-1. But with the Sturm Battalion, we're going to be at a 2-to-1. So we're going to be rolling on the 2-to-1, plus tactical coordination and everything. So let's see what happens. Okay, this is a pretty different result altogether. So we have a roll of an 8 for the combat, and then both sides rolled a 6 for perfect technical coordination. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop either one from obtaining that, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So we have the roll of 8 on a 2-1. That's an attacker 6 and a defender 4, so keep that in mind. So the attacker's still taking more hits, but we're also getting that bonus here from the stuff. Oh, so I get a +2 on the offensive. Okay. So that +2, it looks like is only for on the offensive +2 is only for tactical coordination. So I gave a little too much to the that first attack, but that's okay. I'm just gonna roll with it, and it's just because it's fun. Who cares? Anyway, so just keep that in mind if you have this or one of the games in itself. So then, so we are back to that. So they rolled. They rolled an 8, which, as I said, would be attacker 6 d4 on the 2-1. And I don't think, there's no other column shift to the left. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. We are in a mountain hex. These are mountains, so I did have to do that again. So we're actually at 1-1. So it's attacker 7, defender 3. So it's a slight difference. Attacker 7, defender 3. And then the technical coordinations are at perfect coordination. Even with any modifiers, they're both going to end up there. Yeah. Yes, they're both going to end up there. So the defender goes first, and they may choose to retreat up to 3 hexes. For each hex retreated by all defending units, 3 hit points are deducted from the combat result. If the Cadorna Foch doctrine is in effect, and or 1 unit in stack is disorganized, retreat is limited to 2 hexes. So we could retreat 1 hex to cancel out all those hits, but I don't think that's necessarily a good idea. I think we'd rather stick around, here. And the attacker with perfect coordination can put 2 units in exploitation mode. So we will do that, I think, here. I'm not sure if I'm actually using the right marker for this, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. So we'll put the 4th and one of these guys here in exploitation mode. But now we have to do the actual losses. So as I said before, it was what did I say? Oh yeah, 7-3. So 7-3. We'll take 1 loss off the Sturmtruppen. That brings it down to 5. And then I think we'll take 3 here. Oops. And then disorganize these 2, which is unfortunate. But that's the way it will be. And then these guys take 2, which is going to disorganize both of them. Also unfortunate. Okay, but everyone there is disorganized. And then, let's see, is there any other attacks we want to make? Probably not yet. It feels like that's going to be a bad move to try to attack into that, even with all those units. So I think that will be probably the end here, but I'll do a little bit of looking around. Okay, I'm not going to do any more attacks, so we would go to disengagement phase. So the phasing player, which is the central powers, is allowed to disengage any units on the line, or attempt to disengage with units that are on the enemy zone of control. They're not going to do any of that, so we'd go to the exploitation phase. However, when I was looking at it, I realized the exploitation markers can only go on units that they can't be disorganized, which I already knew that, but they can't be disorganized, and they must have advanced after combat, which we don't have any units that actually advanced after combat. So that is all rather superfluous. So now that we have finished the exploitation phase there, we now go to the reacting player. We'll then get to do movement, combat, and exploitation phase. And then we're going to do this 2 more times because we have 3 operational sequences to go through. So as far as the Italians or allied player here, Entente player, is going to be concerned, they need to try to get some more units up to the front here and try to continue to stop this stymie the German attack. And maybe if they get the chance, try to counterattack themselves. But that's going to be tricky. Might be able to do something over here, especially if we can blow through that unit. I think we might, yeah, that's probably a good weak point to try to exploit, even though we got German units coming down here. We can try that. So movement-wise, we'll move a few units up. Get ready to try to exploit that. I think we'll go up to here just to make sure we can get something in there. We'll move this unit in. He's not disorganized. We can start moving the French forward. 2, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I don't want to risk... They can't really reach this unit in a lot of strength yet, and it's a 10 unit. And I don't want to have a coordination penalty by mixing the French and Italians there. So for the moment, we're going to leave them be until we can move them up here and then move them again when they're relieved. Yeah, so I think we'll stick with that for now. And we will flip this unit here to offensive mode. Do we want to move any of that other artillery? We can't really do it in any way that's going to be useful, so no. We'll leave it. This, though, could... Yeah, we'll move this artillery, actually, over there. So they'll be able to do more support with the French artillery as well on the next go-around. Okay. But now we're going to do an attack here against this small mountain, like regiment, battalion, whatever it is that's left. All right, and we'll put the 8 Alpini as the lead unit, and we have 4 bombardment. Could do counter battery. Yeah, we will. We'll do counter battery and stop that guy. So now we just have 3. So 3 bombardment into enemy trenches, so it's a -2 at 3 bombardment strength, which is poor, and I don't think that's going to do anything. We're basically at a 0 at 3 bombardment strength, 1. Okay, so we do disorganize them, actually, so that's something, I suppose. I mean, yeah, it's something. So just put a disorganized marker here. Oops, that's a reorganized. So disorganized. So that's not going to be good for the Germans here. So a small victory potentially here. Let's see. Now we got okay. So total of 4, 10, 12. 16, or no, sorry, it's not 16, excuse me, 18, 22 against, see, Germans get ×3, so against 6, so it's 3 to 1, 3 to 1, no Arditi assault battalions, 3 to 1, okay, oh, and we're attacking into a mountain as well, so it goes down to the 2 to 1 box. Yeah, so 2 to 1, 2 to 1, and let's see what the roll is. Okay. So this is a technical coordination roll, and this was our results roll. So I got an 8, and then an okay-ish tactical roll. So because the Italians did not declare the offensive, they also don't get that offensive bonus either. So they're not the phasing player. So we have an 8 on the 2 to 1 is attacker 6, defender 4. Okay. And then we have the tactical coordination rolls here. So if we're going to get perfect coordination on the defender, and just a 3 partial for the attacker here. So we can place 1 unit in exploitation mode, which I think we'll probably just place the 59th Division. Why not? Sure. Okay. And then the defender here, though, may choose to retreat up to 3 hexes. For each hex retreated, remove 3 hit points. So we can basically just retreat and negate those hits. So we will do that. We'll only retreat 1 hex, though, because I don't want to leave anything too vulnerable. Oh, I guess it's zone of control anyway. But that will let them, we'll leave them behind, and we'll bring in all those infantry in the one of these is in a exploitation mode, which will actually matter a little bit, though I don't know if I even want to actually try continuing that. Be a 2 to 1 again? I don't know, maybe. But anyway, the hole was blown open, sort of. There is now this trench line this part of the trench line has been claimed by the Entente. I don't think they have any other attacks they want to do for that. So let's see, do they want to do any disengagements? I don't think so. Exploitation. I think we're not going to do it. We'll let it go. We'll let it pass. Okay. And with that, we move on into the second operational sequence. And the Germans actually get a unit that pops up next to the headquarters. And with that, we will move on to the rest of their phase. Now, from here on out, I am just going to kind of play through it and report back as things progress, or all that. I'm not going to walk through the sequence again. So I will be back here shortly once things have changed. Okay, so this is where things stand at the end of the second operation phase. So I'm not sure if I'm being as aggressive enough with the Germans, or what. I don't know how to gauge if I'm exactly how much. I mean, I know I need to be pushing. I can't tell exactly if I should be splitting up into smaller, riskier attacks, or if I am doing this okay with very heavy concentration. So we were able to force open this hex, cracked it open, got a lot of forces in. We'll be able to keep pushing here shortly, because most of the Italian units counterattacked on this side and pushed this unit back. And the Germans have a stronger line up on this side after they brought in their reinforcements that were coming in, except for this stack of already weak units. They're there. Actually, I just realized I removed this unit. Yeah, we'll just move up a bit. Anyway, not that big a deal. It wasn't going to be able to get into the fight yet. And, yeah, I guess it might be able to make a push here. Anyway, so I'm definitely going to try to make another hit here, but or possibly here. I mean, we can definitely keep pressing the attack, but I'm not sure. And there are trenches. I'm not sure if we're really going to be able to do it. I'm going to try to take. I think we're going to try to take the Mount Grappa. but it's really tough. I'm definitely going to have to slide. Maybe I should actually kind of do a little walk back here and slide some of these forces over. Might make more sense, actually, for the Italians here. Let's... All right, we're a slight redo. Okay, those guys are disorganized, so okay. Tougher, stiffer unit there at Mount Grappa. Yeah, that makes more sense. So anyway, Germans are pressing, and they still got a sizable force, and they're going to be able to do another pretty concerted attack, but they're going to be out now of their bonus, their attack bonus. So it's probably going to get a lot bloodier here now in this last push. I don't know if they have enough to actually break through or seize the mount. There's a lot of Italians there, even if they are disorganized. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they're still going to get their heavy artillery bonus from here. Yeah. All right, well, I guess we'll see on this third operation phase. I'll phase it out. We'll see if the Germans are going to be able to... Maybe they should attack here first and try to... No, we need to hit with everything. Still have Stormtrooper and Stoss units to use, so it's okay. Yeah, we're going to try one more push here in this last operational phase. There's technically one more turn, but it only has one operational sequence after this, but I don't know if that's without any bonus at all at the start. I just don't see the Central Powers being able to do much that round. I'm probably just going to stop it here. This is really their kind of one shot, unless it turns out that they're like really on the verge of they have a shot at a shot at a breakthrough. Then we might see that last one, but well, we'll see where it goes from here. Last operational turn coming up. All right, and here we go. So at the end of the final operation sequence, the Italians managed to just barely hang on to flood the area with they flooded the area again here with reinforcements, but they're pretty badly damaged and disorganized. But one kind of fresh unit in there to hold the line. The Germans took some hits on the back, and the Germans and Austrians, I should say, took some hits, and they got a few disorganized units, and they took some step losses, but not a whole lot. Having a lot of they rolled decently well on the attacks, and they had a lot of forces to throw in, so they end up not taking too many losses. Both sides had decent tactical rolls, so nothing really changed. The Italians decided to just absorb the hits. They didn't particularly feel like trying to counterattack, which maybe that was a mistake. Maybe that's what they should be doing. I don't know. Not sure exactly what the best play is. But they've held Mount Grappa. There's one more operational sequence in the next turn to do. At this point, I think they can scrounge up enough to hold Grappa. Kind of for the last... Well, they have scrounged up enough to hold Grappa. I don't imagine... Well, I mean, actually, I think a really good roll might still be able to break it. I'm not sure. I have to look at the chart again to see if there's a possibility of enough forces, but I don't think the Germans are going to be able to throw enough to actually break Grappa. Had there been like a couple more turns, or maybe one more offensive sequence that could happen in this scenario, I think the Central Powers would pretty handily... this got bumped. This was up here. Got bumped. Pretty handily push through, because there's not like other reinforcements or anything to happen. I also had a realization of talking about from last time, the previous sequence of I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. I realized part of the problem I was having is my kind of natural aversion to losing units. I don't like it. I don't like losing units. I mean, no one really does, but it's going to happen. But it just, with a scenario this small and without any other context happening around the battle, there's no reason to not throw in even the weakened units into the fight, because they can take the hits. You can just eat the losses and keep trying to press forward as much as you can. So I should have been doing that more so earlier as well, but I did kind of do it for the last round here, just throwing stuff in and trying to do what damage that could be done. It didn't go. It wasn't a spectacular fight there by any means, but I should say it wasn't like there's not any major exchanges really happening or ground taken. Just kind of damage back and forth on smaller hits in this area. But at this point, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the last one they could do it, but I'm not sure. I kind of feel like I would have to reset this whole thing, but I got other things that I need to kind of check out right now. Maybe even larger scenarios. So I'm just gonna call it a draw here. Though I think the Germans would probably be able to. Not probably. I mean, probably won't be able to get into Mount Grappa itself, but yeah, we'll call it a draw, which I guess would technically be a victory for the Italians because holding is winning in a way. But yeah, so I will call it there. This was a interesting little exercise to kind of see how the combat shapes up, and the larger scenarios probably offer more interesting choices than just battering at the wall at a wall, slamming your head into a brick wall for several turns. Although that will definitely happen in the other ones. But I'm going to move on from this one because it's not. Other than learning the sequence of play, which is what it's for, it's an introduction scenario. It's not like particularly an interesting thing happening. But yeah, so got a little more going on. So we'll move on to the next thing, whatever that may be on the channel. And yeah, apologies again for such a delay in uploads, but just a lot going on recently in life. So it takes a while to get stuff and had to have the energy and will to actually film. Sometimes I just want to play a thing and not worry about the production of a video. But anyway, well, thanks for stopping along, and I'll catch you next time.